punk!
A punk with 3 million followers knocked out a homeless veteran on Livestream for $200, laughing as the old man's head cracked against the pavement. But he didn't know 60 bikers were watching from a bar 2 miles away. When Sergeant Samuel Pa Sam Elton hit the ground and the chat exploded with laughing emojis, David Zimmerman, president of Devil's Honor MC, stood up and said 2 words that changed everything. Gear up. The neon sign outside the dog tag saloon buzzed like a hornet trapped in a jar, casting red and blue shadows across the row of Harleys parked out front. 60 bikes, maybe more, lined up tight as soldiers in formation, chrome glinting under the California night, leather saddlebags worn soft from 1,000 miles of asphalt and memory. Inside, the air smelled like motor oil, old leather, and the kind of whiskey that didn't apologize for burning on the way down. The walls were covered in black and white photos, young men in fatigues, dog tags hanging from necks that didn't yet know how heavy they'd become, flags, patches, a framed purple heart next to a faded Polaroid of a Humvee with "Death Before Dishonor" spray-painted on the side. This wasn't a bar. It was a chapel for men who'd traded their uniforms for cooties and found that Brotherhood didn't end when the war did. At the center table sat David Zimmerman, president of the Devil's Honor MC. Broad shoulders, salt and pepper beard, hands scarred from wrenches and worse. He'd done 2 tours in Iraq, came home to a country that thanked him with a handshake and a prescription for pills he never took. So he built a different kind of platoon, one that rode on 2 wheels and answered to no one but each other. To his left sat Trent Morales, ex-Marine sniper, the kind of guy who could read a room faster than most men could read a menu. To his right, Cutthroat Collins, a mountain of a man with a scar across his neck from a knife fight in Fallujah that he never talked about but everyone knew. And across from him, Susan Hale, the club's mechanic and one of the few women patched in tougher than most of the men, with grease under her nails and a heart that bled red, white and blue. Tonight, they weren't watching football. They were watching a live stream. The big screen TV, mounted above the bar, flickered with the glow of a phone camera, and on it, a young man with a perfect jawline and a ring light's reflection in his eyes, grinned like he'd just won the lottery. His name was Carlton Price, but 3 million people knew him as Carlty TV King of extreme in real-life content. The stream title flashed in the corner, "Making Bums Earn Their Money Gone Wrong." Donations rolled across the screen like slot machine wins. Emojis exploded in the chat, laughing faces, crying faces, skull emojis. David's jaw tightened. On the screen, standing on a dirty Los Angeles sidewalk, was an old man holding a cardboard sign. "Homeless veteran. Anything helps. God bless." His grey beard was wild, his army jacket 3 sizes too big, sleeves frayed at the cuffs. His boots were worn down to paper, laces tied in double knots like he'd learned in basic training 40 years ago and never forgot. His name, though no one on the stream knew it yet, was Samuel Elton, but the men in the dog tag saloon knew him by another name, Pa Sam. Carlton waved a crisp $100 bill in front of Pa Sam's face, holding it just out of reach like a carrot in front of a mule. "All right, chat," Carlton laughed, his voice dripping with mockery. "We found our first contestant. If he wants my money, he's got to dance for it." The chat exploded. "Make him bark. Trip him, lol. $50 if you push him, ha ha." Inside the dog tag, Trent leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Is this kid serious?" Susan's knuckles went white around her beer bottle. On screen, Carlton grinned wider. "You want this, old-timer? Do some push-ups, show chat you still got it." Pa Sam blinked slowly, then straightened as much as his thin frame would allow. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but steady, the kind of voice that had once called out coordinates under fire. "I served in the 82nd Airborne," he said. "I don't beg for tricks. I just ask for help, son." Carlton's grin didn't falter. He turned the camera back to himself, eyebrows raised in exaggerated disbelief. "Did you hear that, chat? He's a hero, a real-life hero, guys." His tone dripped sarcasm. The chat erupted with laughing emojis. Inside the bar, Susan's breath caught. She leaned closer to the screen, squinting at Pa Sam's face as he turned slightly toward the camera. "Wait," she whispered. "Is that—" Trent's face went stone cold. "Jesus Christ, that's Sam Elton." David's eyes snapped to Trent. "You sure? Positive?" Trent's voice was tight. "We called him Pa Sam back in the day. Dude pulled 3 wounded guys out of a burning Humvee in Iraq, took shrapnel in his back doing it. VA chewed him up and spat him out." David's fists clenched around his beer. On the TV, Carlton stepped closer to Pa Sam, still in selfie mode, his voice rising for the viewers. "What's wrong, Grandpa?" Carlton mocked. "Too old to do a push-up? All that service and you're just a sidewalk decoration now." Pa Sam's hands trembled on his cardboard sign. "I'm not here for your show," he said quietly. "I'm here to remember the boys who didn't make it home. There's a memorial down the street." Carlton smirked. "Chat says you're capping. They want entertainment." He jerked his thumb at the screen. "No tricks, no money, that's the deal." He shoved Pa Sam's shoulder lightly, just enough to startle him. The chat loved it. Donations spiked. David exhaled slowly through his nose, a sound like a kettle about to boil. On the screen, a new donation popped up in bright red letters. "New donation, 200. Knock him down. Lol." Carlton's eyes lit up. He looked at the camera, then back at Pa Sam. 200? Carlton grinned. "Say less." He stepped into Pa Sam's space, close enough that the old man had to tilt his head back to meet his eyes. "Last chance, old man. Dance, bark, do something, or you're going to take an L in front of 3 million people." Pa Sam shook his head slowly. "I took enough hits for this country," he said. "I won't take one for your phone." Carlton's smile flattened into annoyance. "That's the problem with your generation," he sneered. "Always think somebody owes you something." Then, without warning, he swung. The punch wasn't a playful tap. It was a quick, practiced jab that snapped Pa Sam's head sideways. The old man went down hard, his cardboard sign folding beneath him, his head smacking the concrete with a sickening crack. The chat went wild. "Oh my God, he did it. Laugh my ass off. Clip it, clip it, clip it." In the dog-tag saloon, every chair scraped back at once. David Zimmerman stood. The room went silent, except for the sound of Carlton's laughter echoing from the TV. "Kill the sound," David said. Susan grabbed the remote and muted the screen, but the image kept rolling. Carlton standing over Pa Sam, laughing into his phone, stepping on the fallen sign. On the ground, Pa Sam wasn't moving. A thin trickle of blood ran from his temple, dark against the grey concrete. David turned to his club. 60 pairs of eyes stared back at him, men who'd seen violence, who'd lived through it, who'd sworn they'd left it behind when they came home. But some things you don't leave behind. Some things you carry, and some things, some people you protect. David's voice was low and steady, but it carried the weight of every firefight, every brother lost, every promise made in the dark. "Brothers," he said, "we have a situation." The silence in the dog-tag saloon lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then Cutthroat spoke, his voice like gravel scraping asphalt. "That's Pa Sam." "I know," David said. "The same Pa Sam who carried Sergeant Rivas out of that burning vehicle in Ramadi," Trent added, his Marine training kicking in. Facts first, emotion second. Took shrapnel in his back. Refused medevac until every man in his unit was accounted for. Susan's hand was already on her phone, scrolling through Carlton's channel, her face twisted with disgust. This isn't his first rodeo. Look at this stealing from homeless people prank, making old ladies cry challenge, fake robbery gone wrong. She looked up. 3 million subscribers. This kid makes a living humiliating people. David's jaw worked. He remembered Pa Sam from a VA waiting room in San Diego, maybe 6 years back. They'd talked for 20 minutes about nothing, weather, bikes, the way the government promised everything and delivered pills. Pa Sam had smiled through it all, said he was grateful just to be alive when so many of his brothers weren't. And now he was bleeding on a Los Angeles sidewalk while a kid with a ring light counted donations. "Where is he?" David asked. Trent was already pulling up the stream on his phone, zooming in on the background. "That mural, I know that mural. It's on 4th and Magnolia, downtown, 2 miles from here. Maybe less." Susan checked the stream overlay. Idiot left his location services on. Chat's already geotagging him. David looked around the room. 60 men and women, all of them veterans who'd turned bikers after retirement. Some had families now, kids in Little League, mortgages, PTA meetings. Some lived alone in studio apartments with nothing but a bike and a kute. But every single one of them understood the same language. Brotherhood. "We're not killing a kid on camera," David said, his voice calm but absolute. "We're going to teach him what consequences look like." Cutthroat cracked his knuckles. "I'm good with that." "We roll in tight," David continued. "No weapons, no violence unless he swings first. We let the law handle the rest. But we make sure Pa Sam knows he's not alone. Not tonight. Not ever again." Trent nodded. "What about the stream?" David's eyes narrowed. "Let it roll. Let the whole world watch." The room moved as one. Leather vests pulled on over T-shirts and flannel, kutas bearing patches. Devil's Honor MC. California. Veteran-owned. Ride free or die. Some had smaller patches, 82nd Airborne. USMC. Army Strong. 22. Susan zipped up her vest, the one with a patch that read Iraq 2004, 2006, and another that said, "If you can read this, the bitch fell off." She caught David's eye. Pa Sam used to talk about his daughter, lost her to an overdose in 2012, said he never forgave himself for not being there. David's chest tightened. He thought of his own daughter, 8 years old, asleep in her bed 30 miles away in Riverside. He'd tucked her in before riding out tonight, kissed her forehead, promised he'd be home for pancakes in the morning. Pa Sam didn't have that anymore. But he had this. The dog tag's back door swung open and the parking lot came alive. Engines fired up one by one, Harleys, Indians, a few Triumphs, each one a growl, a roar, a promise. David swung his leg over his bike, a 2018 Harley Road King with saddlebags that had seen every highway between San Diego and Sacramento. He pulled on his helmet, flipped down the visor, and looked at his club. Trent gave him a nod. Cutthroat revved his engine. Susan flashed 2 fingers down the biker salute, the one that meant keep the rubber side down, brother. David returned it. Then he kicked his bike into gear, and 60 motorcycles rolled out of the dog-tag saloon like a steel river, engines snarling in perfect formation. The California night swallowed them whole. 2 miles away, Carlton was still laughing into his phone, standing over Pa Sam's crumpled body, reading donations aloud. He had no idea what was coming, but the sound, low and distant at first, like thunder on the horizon, was already building, and in 60 seconds, Carlton Price's life was about to change forever. Carlton was on fire. Literally, his phone screen was exploding with notifications, donations, subscriptions, shares. The algorithm loved chaos, and chaos loved Carlton. "Yo, chat, we just hit 10,000 live viewers," he shouted, pacing around Pa Sam's still form on the sidewalk. "This is insane. You guys better be clipping this. We're going viral tonight." His friend Eli stood a few feet back, holding a second phone for backup angles. He looked nervous. "Dude, I think he's actually hurt. Maybe we should—" "Relax," Carlton cut him off, waving a hand dismissively. "These vets are built different. You good, Grandpa?" He nudged Pa Sam's boot with his sneaker. "Get up, so I can hit you with a thumbnail face." Pa Sam groaned, slowly rolling to his side. Blood trickled from his temple, dark against his grey beard. His hand reached for the fallen cardboard sign, fingers trembling. A few pedestrians had stopped, phones out, unsure if this was staged or real. Los Angeles was like that. You could never tell if you were watching a crime or a TikTok. Then, faintly at first, there was another sound. A low rumble, distant but growing. Eli looked up from the phone. Carlton? You hear that?" Carlton grinned, still reading chat. "Probably just traffic, bro. Focus. Chat's going crazy." The rumble turned into a roar. Headlights appeared at the end of 4th Street, 2 by 2, cutting through the Los Angeles night like searchlights. The sound grew louder, not traffic, not random. This was organized. Ailey's face went pale. "Carlton, turn around." Carlton finally looked up and froze. 60 motorcycles rolled into the block in perfect formation, engines growling like wolves circling prey. They filled the street, 2 lanes wide, headlights blazing. Leather vests, helmets, patches glinting under the streetlights. Devil's Honor MC. The pedestrians stepped back instinctively. Someone whispered, "Oh shit." Carlton's livestream chat exploded. "Who are those dudes? Bro, turn around. This just got real. Is this staged? Run, bro. Run." At the front of the formation, David Zimmerman cut his engine and kicked down his stand. He swung his leg off his bike, pulled off his helmet, and walked forward. Trent and Cutthroat flanked him like bodyguards from another world. The street went silent, except for the idling engines and Carlton's shallow breathing. David's eyes dropped to the blood on Pa Sam's temple, then lifted to meet Carlton's. The kid looked like he wanted to disappear. David's voice was calm, but it carried across the entire block. "You just knocked out Sergeant Samuel Elton, 82nd Airborne, 3 tours, 2 Bronze Stars." He took 1 step closer. "We call him Pa Sam." Carlton opened his mouth, then shut it. David gestured to the live stream. "And you did it for views." Eli's hands were shaking so hard the phone camera wobbled. Carlton tried to default to content mode, forcing a grin. "Yo, chat, is this real? This some kind of raid? You guys bikers or actors?" David didn't smile. He didn't blink. Trent pulled out his phone, scrolling through Carlton's channel. "Let's see. Dumping food on homeless people? Fake purse theft on elderly woman? Making bums fight for money." He looked up. "You've got a pattern, kid." Behind them, Susan knelt beside Pa Sam, gently helping him sit up. She pulled a clean rag from her vest pocket and pressed it to his temple. "Easy, Pa. We got you." Pa Sam blinked up at her, confused. "Susan? Yeah, it's me." Her voice cracked. "You're gonna be okay." Carlton's grin faltered. "Look, man, it's just content. It's not that deep. He's fine." Cutthroat stepped forward, and Carlton flinched. The big man didn't touch him, didn't need to. His presence alone was enough. "He's bleeding," Cutthroat said, his voice like a diesel engine idling. "You think that's fine?" David raised a hand, and Cutthroat stepped back. David looked at Carlton, then at the phone still streaming everything. "You wanted an audience," David said quietly. "Now you've got one." He turned to Eli. "Point that camera here." Eli hesitated, then obeyed. David looked directly into the lens, into the eyes of 3 million viewers. "My name is David Zimmerman. I'm the president of Devil's Honor Motorcycle Club. We're veterans. We're fathers. We're Americans." He gestured to Pa Sam. "And this man, this hero, just got assaulted on camera by a kid who makes money humiliating people." The chat was moving too fast to read. David's voice didn't rise, but it cut like a blade. "Let's see how he performs," David said, without a screen to hide behind. Carlton's live stream had never had this many viewers. 15,000, 20,000, climbing fast. But for the first time in his career, Carlton wasn't in control. David stood in front of the camera, calm as a man ordering coffee. Behind him, 60 bikers formed a wall of leather and steel. Pa Sam sat on the curb, Susan still tending to his wound, her Devil's Honor patch visible in the frame. "Turn the camera on him," David said, nodding toward Carlton. Eli hesitated, then obeyed. The lens swung to Carlton, who looked like a deer in headlights. David stepped beside him, close enough that they were both in frame. "Tell them your name." I'm Carlton, Carlty TV." "And what did you just do, Carlton?" Carlton's mouth opened and closed. The chat was screaming at him. "Answer him." "You're cooked, bro." "Apologize." "Run." It was just a prank, man. It's content." David's jaw tightened. "A prank?" He turned to Trent. "Show him." Trent pulled up Carlton's previous videos on his phone, turning the screen toward the camera. "Here's one where you dumped a milkshake on a homeless woman. Here's another where you pretended to steal an old man's walker. And here," he scrolled, "you paid 2 homeless guys to fight each other for $50. The chat turned. "What the fuck? This guy's a scumbag. Report his channel. Ban him." Carlton's face went red. Those are old videos. I've changed." David's voice was ice. "You knocked out a veteran 20 minutes ago." Silence. David turned back to the camera. "You know what Pa Sam did in Iraq? He pulled 3 wounded soldiers out of a burning Humvee, took shrapnel in his back, refused medical evacuation until every man in his unit was safe." He paused, and when he came home, the VA gave him pills and a handshake. The system failed him. So he ended up on this street, holding a sign, asking for help. Pa Sam's voice, weak but steady, came from the curb. "I was visiting the memorial. My brothers are on that wall." David's eyes never left the camera. "And this kid punched him in the head for $200. The donations once flooding in for Carlton reversed. Now they were pouring in for Pa Sam. $50. For Pa Sam, $100. Respect to the vet, $500. Arrest Carlton." David looked at Carlton. "You wanted to go viral. Congratulations. Now the whole world knows exactly who you are." Carlton's hands shook. "I'll call the cops." David smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Good idea." He pulled out his phone and dialed. "Chief Ramirez. It's David Zimmerman. We've got a situation on 4th and Magnolia. Streamer just assaulted a homeless veteran on camera. You might want to send a unit." He hung up. Carlton's face went white. David stepped closer, lowering his voice so only Carlton could hear. "You're going to fix what you can right here. Then the law and life will handle the rest." The sirens were already wailing in the distance. David held out his hand. "Give me the phone." Carlton clutched it like a lifeline. "No way, man, that's my—" Cutthroat's hand landed on Carlton's shoulder, and the kid's knees nearly buckled. He said, "Give him the phone." Cutthroat rumbled. Carlton handed it over. David held the phone up to the camera, showing the screen to the 25,000 people now watching. "This is Carlton's channel, 3 million subscribers. Let's see what kind of content he's built his career on." He scrolled. Here's one. Stealing crutches from disabled guy. Another. Fake eviction, notice prank on single mom. And this one. He stopped. Making homeless people eat dog food for cash. The chat exploded with rage. David looked at Carlton. "Delete them." "What?" "No. That's my whole channel. That's my career." Trent stepped forward. "Careers can be rebuilt. Character can't." David's voice was steady. "Every video where you hurt somebody for clout, delete it, right now, in front of everyone." Carlton's hands shook as he took the phone back. "This is insane." Susan's voice cut through from the curb. "You know what's insane? Pa Sam spent 3 years in a VA hospital, lost his daughter to an overdose while he was there. Came out with nothing but a backpack and a flag." She looked at Carlton. "And you punched him for fun." The chat was chanting now. "Delete, delete, delete." Carlton's finger hovered over the first video. "Do it," David said. Carlton deleted it. Then another, and another. With each deletion the chat roared. Some cheered, some cursed him, but everyone watched. Halfway through, Pa Sam spoke. "I remember being your age," he said quietly. "I thought I was invincible. Thought the world owed me something." He coughed, wincing. "Then I put on a uniform and learned what real men look like. They don't need cameras. They don't need applause. They just do what's right, even when no one's watching." Carlton stopped, tears streaming down his face. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "Say it to him," David said. "Not to me, to Pa Sam." Carlton turned, walked to the curb, and knelt. "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't know. I didn't think—" "You didn't think," Pa Sam said. "That's the problem." The sirens were close now. David looked at the camera one last time. "This is what happens when you forget that people aren't content. They're human beings. And some of them bled for the country that lets you make a living, humiliating them." The police cruiser pulled up, lights flashing, and Carlton Price's viral dream became his worst nightmare. Officer Ramirez stepped out of the cruiser, hand on his belt, eyes scanning the scene. He knew David had worked with Devil's Honor on charity rides, toy drives, veteran outreach. Good men, dangerous when they needed to be, but good. "David," Ramirez said. "What we got?" David gestured to the phone, still streaming. "Assault. On camera. 3 million witnesses." Ramirez looked at Pa Sam, then at Carlton, then at the blood on the pavement. "Jesus," he muttered. Carlton stood, hands up. "Officer, I can explain." "Save it," Ramirez said. He looked at Pa Sam. "Sir, do you want to press charges?" Everyone waited. Pa Sam looked at Carlton for a long moment. Then he said, "I forgive you." The chat went silent. Carlton blinked. "What?" "I forgive you," Pa Sam repeated. "I've seen enough real violence. Holding anger just keeps me in the war forever." David's eyes softened. Pa Sam looked at Ramirez. "But forgiveness isn't the same as no consequences. He assaulted me, on camera, in front of millions. The law should handle that." Ramirez nodded. "Agreed." He turned to Carlton. "You're under arrest for assault and battery." Carlton's face crumpled. "No, please, Ramirez cuffed him. "You have the right to remain silent." As Carlton was led to the cruiser, Pa Sam called out, "You wanted to go viral, son. You're about to become famous for the worst thing you've ever done." The cruiser door slammed shut. David looked at the camera. "Stream's over." Eli ended it. 30,000 people had watched justice happen live, and the internet would never forget. By morning, the video had 15 million views. News outlets picked it up. Streamer assaults, homeless veteran, bikers deliver justice. Reddit threads exploded. Twitter trended number Passam and number Devil Genre for 3 days straight. Carlton's channel was demonetized within 12 hours. Sponsors dropped him. His apartment lease was terminated. His car, a leased BMW, was repossessed. He took a plea deal. 90 days in county jail, 2 years probation, 500 hours of community service. Meanwhile, Pa Sam's GoFundMe hit $340,000. He cried when David showed him. "I don't need this much," Pa Sam said. "You earned it," David replied. Pa Sam used $50,000 to secure a small apartment in Riverside. The rest went to homeless veteran programs across California. Devil's Honor built him a custom sidecar, painted it with the 82nd Airborne insignia, and gave him a vest. Patches, 82nd Airborne, Iraq veteran, protected by Devil's Honor. At the next memorial ride, Pa Sam rode in that sidecar, American flag flying behind him, surrounded by 60 bikes. He wept the whole way, and for the first time in years, he felt like he was home. 6 months later, Pa Sam stood at the Los Angeles Veterans Memorial, his vest on, his head high. A young man approached. It was Carlton. No designer clothes, no camera, just a kid who looked like he'd been through hell. "Mr. Elton," Carlton said quietly. "Pa Sam, I wanted to apologize, for real this time. No camera." Pa Sam studied him, Carlton continued. "I did my time, lost everything, but I met a guy inside former Army who told me what you guys went through, what you sacrificed." His voice cracked. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." He handed Pa Sam an envelope. Inside was $4,000. "I've been working," Carlton said. Dishwashing, rideshare, whatever I can get. I want to donate this to homeless vets. In your name. Pa Sam's eyes filled with tears. Sit with me, he said. They sat on a bench, and for 2 hours Pa Sam told him about the war, about brotherhood, about what it means to be a man. David watched from across the park. Think he's for real? Susan asked. David nodded. Yeah, I think he is. A year later, the Dog Tag Saloon had a new sign on the wall. Devil's Honor, Respect and Service Initiative. Pa Sam stood at the front of the room, speaking to a group of high school kids. Respect isn't content, he said. Honor isn't clickbait. Carlton stood in the back, volunteering. He told his story how he knocked out a hero and got knocked out by reality. The kids listened. Outside, 60 bikes lined the street. David stood with his club, arms crossed, watching through the window. We can't fix the whole country, Trent said. No, David agreed. But we can fix what's in front of us. Pa Sam finished his talk, and the kids applauded. Carlton shook his hand. And somewhere in America, another veteran saw the story and knew, when a biker becomes your friend, they're your friend forever. If you believe that respect isn't content, that honor isn't clickbait, and that the men society fears most are sometimes the only ones standing up for the heroes the system abandoned, like and share this story. Subscribe now for more stories that prove bikers are protectors, not predators. And don't miss the 2 videos on your screen right now. They're specially crafted for you, and they'll hit just as hard. Ride safe, family. We'll see you on the next one.